never say this if you are applying to Y Combinator. Hello, my name is Catherine and I'm the founder of Anja Health. We help pregnant parents freeze stem cells from their umbilical cords and placenta, and I founded the company in memory of my younger brother, Andrew, who had cerebral palsy and needed stem cells from an umbilical cord. Today, we are at $1.5 million ARR and profitable, and I was in Y Combinator's W2022 batch, so I've been creating a lot of YC content recently because y'all eat it up. Okay, so today, per the request of one of my amazing subscribers, I am going to be creating a video around what not to say in your YC application. So I have around 10 things that I've seen in other YC apps, and I've read many YC apps because I can't even tell you how many people DM me asking for feedback on their YC app, which is totally fine, but I do think that you should watch all of my YouTube videos because I will likely answer your questions. So without further ado, here are 10 things that you should never say in your YC app, or the interview for that matter. Number 1, we have no competitors. Wrong. If you have a company idea that does not have any competitors, then you don't have the right idea. I think a lot of really naive entrepreneurs think that it's a good signal if you have a company that has no competitors. But if you have no competitors, then there's probably a reason for that. Like, someone has probably tried that idea before and it didn't work, or like your idea is just like way too out of left field and like it's just not it. It's not it. So don't work on something that has no competitors. Like, you should be really earnestly searching for competitors, because that's actually a good signal that there is market demand and someone has thought of it, but it's just maybe that they didn't execute it right. So it doesn't have to be a really big competitor, but it is good if you have like a relatively adjacent competitor that has at least $1 billion valuation, because then YC has something to map you to for success. So for instance, if your cursor for blank, then you can map yourself to Cursor, which is valued at over $1 billion. That way, there's at least something that they can map you to of like, okay, there is some promise here that this will be a successful company. So you do want to have some competitors. Of course, you want to have some differentiation so that you're not having a direct competitor. But honestly, there are so many industries that I can think of where there are many big players. Like, the pie is big enough. So it's totally fine if you have competitors. Another red flag is we need funding to start. Wrong. You do not need funding to start a company. The very best companies that I know started with zero money and were extremely scrappy in the beginning. So for instance, one of my good friends, he wanted to start a fintech lending company. So he basically had his friends Venmo him $100, and then he kept a spreadsheet of all of the people that Venmoed him, and then he would basically take that $100 and invest it himself. And so of course at a large scale, this might even be illegal, but at a small scale, he was doing things that don't scale, which is one of YC's core principles. And he essentially was demonstrating that he can get traction in a scrappy way, and having a scrappy mindset is a really good quality in a founder. And he was showing that market demand is so omnipresent that he doesn't even need funding in order to execute on the idea. So you do not need funding to execute on your idea. You just need a little bit of gumption. Another red flag is that you are still looking for a technical co-founder. I mean, I think it's fine to be looking for a technical co-founder, but honestly, the very best founders just don't see obstacles in their path. They figure out a way through it. So if you need technical assistance, there are other paths forward. You can try to raise a little bit of money and then hire an engineer. I know a lot of technical products that started that way, although it's less advised than having a co-founder. Also, I feel like in today's day and age, to get an MVP off the ground, you don't need a technical co-founder immediately. Like, your MVP could also be vibe coded, and it's something that you could learn to put together with AI tools. So I definitely think that today that is a red flag. Like, you should already have a core team in place, and you shouldn't be scrambling to find a co-founder. Another red flag for business founders is saying that you're in stealth. Unless you're doing some crazy patented technical product, I personally think that being in stealth is a little bit ridiculous. Ideas are cheap. It's all in the execution. There's no reason that you should be in stealth. It's like, even if people know about it, what are they going to do? Copy it? If it's that easy to copy, then you don't have any defensibility, and it's likely that no one's going to copy it because everybody is weak on execution unless they feel really passionately about the idea. So maybe you wouldn't want to tell like another person that would be really passionate about the idea that has a lot of resources and is looking to start a business tomorrow, but it's very unlikely that the people that you tell are going to steal your idea. And I think it's so funny on LinkedIn, like one of the companies is Stealth, and a lot of people put that on their LinkedIn, like they're employed at Stealth. So Stealth as a company has like 5,000 employees, and it's just kind of funny. Another red flag for your YC app is having buzzwords without substance. So I say this in a lot of my YC videos, but I think that you should be modeling your application writing style and the way that you speak in your YC interview after Paul Graham. So Paul Graham is one of the co-founders of YC, and he's a very good writer. And he actually has an essay on how to write effectively. And essentially the essence of what he's saying is that you want to speak clearly and concisely, because if you can't speak clearly and concisely or write clearly and concisely, then how are you going to be able to market and launch a product clearly and concisely? So you don't want all of these random meaningless buzzwords like AI-powered platform for revolutionizing the future of data. Like, it just doesn't even mean anything. So you want to make sure that you are being very, very specific. In fact, I feel like there's so many Twitter memes about this. Like, I once tweeted something along the lines of, when I was little, I always wanted to use an AI-powered data transformation layer on top of like healthcare. No. Another red flag is any uncertainty about your idea. So even if your idea is really early, even if you literally just sat down with your best friend one night and filled out the YC app and you don't have any traction or anything other than just a few sentences that you've exchanged with one another, you want to demonstrate certainty around your idea, because if you do get into YC, you're going to be working on this for a long time. And the best YC companies are those that become billion-dollar companies. So you can only imagine how much time you need to spend on this company in order to get to that outcome. And what YC does not want is people that have shakiness in their conviction. Like, you can't be scared. You can't be a scared little chihuahua. You have to really have conviction in yourself and the idea. And it's okay if you pivot in the future, but you need to make sure that whatever you're doing, you have confidence in yourself, because weak leaders are not going to cut it. Next red flag, things that you should not mention in your YC app, is any kind of indication that you have a weak relationship between co-founders or an unequal relationship between co-founders. Like, you don't want an equity split that's 90-10 because it's so clear that the power dynamic is off. And whenever power dynamics are off, you might end up spending more time resolving a broken power dynamic rather than actually focusing on building the company. So you do not want to demonstrate weirdness in the co-founder relationship. I mean, it's truly like a marriage, and it's also more difficult to get out of than a marriage. So you want to make sure that you are proceeding with caution when choosing a co-founder, and that you know that you can trust them. You want to have a lot of discussions with them in the same way that before you marry someone, you have a lot of discussions around what you want in the future, your goals. Maybe you sign a prenup. You kind of want to do a similar thing with a co-founder. And so on that note, another red flag for a YC app is an unequal cap table for the reasons aforementioned. You also don't want to mention in your YC app anything vague. Like, I've read a lot of YC apps where people are like, oh, we've done a limited number of user tests, or we have some customers, or like, we've built a social following. Okay, so name it. So define it. So tell me the numbers. You want to make sure that you're very specific with everything that you describe. Even if you feel embarrassed of the number, like, you just want to be transparent around what's happening, because YC will eventually find out and they will grill you during your interview. So you want to make sure that you have these numbers on the top of your head. You want to make sure you're saying, we've done 3 user tests. And if you're ashamed of the number, raise it, change it, or like, we have 8 customers, just things like that. You want to make sure that you are very definitive about the things that you're saying. And then lastly, a red flag is you do not want to have fluffy language. As I mentioned, Paul Graham is an amazing example of a really good writer and one to model when you're thinking about your YC app and interview. Paul Graham writes very clearly and concisely. He's very definitive about everything. He does not use words like very, and he does not go off on random tangents describing some kind of story that has no point. Like, I've also read some YC apps where people will say, like, the question on the YC app will be, how do you know that people need what you're building? And then someone will say a clear and concise sentence about how they know people need what they're building, and then they'll go off on some random tangent about one person that they've talked to that said, like, oh, I need what you're building. Okay, no, you need like to have something along the lines of, we've done like 70 interviews, 20% of them said like XYZ. You want to make sure you're being really data driven and staying honest. So yeah, these are the things that you do not want to include in your YC app or interview, or just in general. I just wouldn't do any of this, even in real life. I hope this was helpful, and make sure to check out my channel. I have a YC playlist where I have all of my YC videos, and guarantee if you watch them, it will help. Thanks for watching.
Trying to be all that I can be for you.